My girlfriend of 6 years never had any intention of marrying me. One night, hiding behind my drunkenness, I jokingly told her, if you reject my 100th proposal, we're breaking up. On my 99th proposal, she still didn't take it seriously. On my final proposal, it just so happened to be a mutual friend's birthday. I rushed to her private lounge. Just as I pushed the door open to ask if she would marry me, I caught her leaning into the arms of a young, handsome male college student. The room fell into an awkward, dead silence. Yet Su Wanqing acted completely unbothered, blatant and nonchalant as ever. The room went dead silent for 5 seconds. Everyone knew I loved her more than life itself. Yet, she openly brought her new lover to the party. We drifted apart years ago anyway. Zwan is way more interesting than you. I want to make things official with him. Though we're broken up, we can still be friends. If you run into any trouble in the capital down the road, you can still come to me. I forced a faint smile. No need. Since we're done, let's make a clean break. It's only fair to him, too. Su Wanqing raised an eyebrow. Seemingly a bit surprised, I looked toward the birthday girl, Chang Rui. Happy birthday. Have fun, everyone. I'll take my leave first. I pointed to that plate of oranges on the table. You guys should eat them. Don't let them go to waste. Su Wanqing doesn't really care for fruit, except oranges, but she's incredibly picky. Every single bit of the white pith has to be meticulously stripped off before she eats them. All these years, I peeled them thoroughly clean of every strand, arranged them nicely on a plate, and served them right to her. Whenever Su Wanqing was in a good mood, she would wrap her arms around me and act all cute. My boyfriend is the absolute best. How are you so good to me? Are you trying to marry me and take me home? She always knew exactly what I wanted, yet she never once offered to give it to me. Wait. I'm leaving. The driver can take you. I waved my hand. No need. I already called a ride. With that, I turned around and left. Look at him throwing a fit. I think Xiao Yi is seriously angry this time. But the friends didn't buy it for a second. No way. It's just the two of them. How many times have they quarreled like this? When has he ever not come crawling back after a few days? By the next party, he'll be acting like nothing happened. I bet 5 days this time. 6 days for me. Su Wanqing cast a cold glance toward the open door of the private room. I bet 3 hours and he'll be right back looking for me. Everyone knew Xiao Yi was madly in love with her. It was already well past midnight when I got back to the villa. It took me half an hour to pack my bags. I had lived here for 3 years. But now everything I wanted to take fit into a single small suitcase. I didn't touch any of the expensive luxury watches and rings. The only thing I felt bad about leaving behind was that wall full of professional books, but it's fine. The knowledge is all in my head anyway. Taking them along doesn't really matter anymore. My gaze swept across the nightstand. I walked over and pulled open the drawer. Inside lay a check for 50 million. Beneath the check was a property transfer document. Su Wanqing had already signed both of them. She had thrown them down during one of our past breakup fights and left them behind. They had been sitting in the drawer ever since. She was certain I wouldn't dare take them because accepting them meant the relationship was completely over. I packed both items into my suitcase. 6 years in exchange for 70 million. Suddenly, I felt like I wasn't that cheap after all. Since she gave it to me, why shouldn't I take it? When the love is gone, at least the money remains. I left the keys at the entryway, got into a taxi, and headed straight to my buddy's place. It was already late into the night when Su Wanqing got home. The pungent smell of alcohol made her head throb. She planned to rest on the sofa for a bit, but ended up falling fast asleep right there. Waking up the next morning, the familiar sound of clattering dishes came from the kitchen. She threw off the blanket and sat up, rubbing her temples while reaching out for water. To her surprise, her hand grabbed nothing but air. Her hand froze right above the coffee table. But then she smirked, so he's already back. Even the blanket has been washed. Still pulling a stunt like this. This kind of half-hearted rebellion hasn't ended after all these years. Su Wanqing stood up. Before she could even finish her sentence, the maid's voice rang out. Miss, you're awake. Please go freshen up. Breakfast will be ready in just 2 minutes. I turned on the heater and added another blanket so you wouldn't catch a cold while sleeping. Su Wanqing fell silent. Why isn't there any millet porridge on the dining table? Miss, you mean that stomach-soothing porridge? I don't have the time to prepare that. Just the lily bulbs, barley, and red dates alone have to be soaked the night before, and you have to get up early the next morning. Plus, controlling the heat is absolutely crucial. I don't have Mr. Yi's patience to constantly watch over it for you. Even if I made it, it wouldn't taste the same. Su Wanqing interrupted her. Bring me some beef sauce. Su Wanqing glanced at the jar. The taste was wrong. The packaging was wrong, too. That jar is already empty. We only have this kind. Go to the supermarket later and buy 2 jars to keep at home. Auntie Wang smiled awkwardly. You can't buy it anywhere. This is something Mr. E made himself from scratch. I don't know how to make it. Miss, are you not going to eat? Auntie Wang watched the woman walk upstairs, looking utterly baffled. Why the sudden temper tantrum? Meanwhile, over at Jing Huai's place, his buddy smiled and spoke. I rolled over without even opening my eyes. Quiet down. Let me sleep a bit longer. When Jing Huai was getting ready to head out to work, he called out. It's almost 8. You need to get back to your place and make breakfast for Miss Su. In the past, I occasionally crashed here, but I always had to rush back before dawn just to brew a pot of soothing porridge for Su Wanqing's weak stomach. Jing Huai was completely speechless while I was still fast asleep. Hearing his words, I just waved my hand. Not going back. You broke up? How many days is it going to last this time? Getting no response, he said, fine. Sleep all you want, then. Breakfast is on the table. I'm off to work. I have a date tonight, so don't bother cooking for me. Actually, never mind. You'll definitely be rushing back to her in a bit. Anyway, just do me a favor and close the balcony window when you leave. Eventually, my growling stomach woke me up. Eating the breakfast my buddy left for me and looking out at the bright, beautiful sunshine. I realized I couldn't even remember the last time I slept in until I woke up naturally. After eating, I changed my clothes and headed straight to the bank. First things first, cash that 50 million check. Money only brings peace of mind once it's actually in your hands. Stepping out of the bank, I was officially a minor tycoon with 30 million in savings and another 20 million in liquid funds. This breakup was turning out to be a pretty good deal. Next, I went and cut off the hairstyle Su Wanqing used to love. Throwing on some casual clothes, I walked down the street feeling completely unburdened. As I wandered around, I somehow ended up outside the gates of Binhai University. I watched the students riding their bikes back and forth in the glow of the setting sun. I couldn't help sinking into my thoughts. Just then, a young girl hurried past, calling out anxiously, "Hurry up. We still need to go to the hospital to visit Professor Liang." My gaze shifted, a pang hitting my heart. That stubborn old man, the one who used to tap me on the head whenever he got angry. Is his illness serious? Back at my temporary lodging, I couldn't calm my racing thoughts for a long time. Pulling up my contact list, I stared at the number saved under the name Little Wife. After hesitating over and over, I still couldn't summon the courage to make the call. Back then, just to be with Su Wanqing, all for the sake of so-called romance. I had given up a direct master's to PhD program without a second thought. I hadn't even worked a single day since getting my bachelor's degree, reducing myself to a man whose entire life revolved around a single woman. The old man must have been profoundly disappointed in me. Under the exact same night sky over at Ingjiang Villa, Su Wanqing was taking a call from her assistant. The assistant's voice came through the line. "Miss Su, the bank has confirmed that Mr. E showed up in person to cash the 50 million yuan check. The transaction went through today at 12:50 p.m. Su Wanqing hung up, gazing coldly out the window at the night scenery. "Xiaoyi, what kind of new game are you playing now? If you think throwing a tantrum like this will win me back, you've got another thing coming. Once I make up my mind, there is absolutely no turning back." Half an hour later, Su Wanqing pushed open the door to a private lounge. Chang Rui was the first to greet her with a wide smile. "Wanqing, everyone's here. We're all just waiting on you. What are you drinking tonight?" As Su Wanqing walked inside, Chang Rui peered over her shoulder. "Where's he? Is he parking the car? Is it hard to find a spot? I can go out and help him." Noticing the icy expression on Su Wanqing's face, Chang Rui finally clued in. "Wait, Wanqing, don't tell me he still isn't back yet. It's already been over 3 hours." Su Wanqing spread her hands. "Why would he be back? You think we broke up just for fun?" With that, she brushed past Chang Rui and took a seat on the sofa. Chang Rui looked utterly bewildered. "No way. Is it for real this time?" But she quickly shook her head, thinking she was making a big deal out of nothing. If Su Wanqing said she wanted to break up, she could do it in a heartbeat. But as for Xiaoyi, that was a joke. Every other man on this earth might agree to a breakup, but not him. That was an undisputed fact within their social circle. Jiang Shufu, always eager to stir the pot, raised her glass with a smirk. "Well, Wanqing, how come you're all by yourself? Our bet was for 3 hours, but now an entire day has passed. A bet's a bet. Time to pay up. What's the penalty?" Let's switch it up today. No drinking. Call E right now. And use your sweetest voice to say, I'm sorry, I was wrong and I love you. The crowd burst into roaring laughter. Chang Rui went a step further, snatching Su Wanqing's phone right out of her hand. Let me dial it for you. After a single ring, a cold automated voice chimed in. We're sorry. The number you have dialed cannot be reached at this time. Wait, did she get blocked? Su Wanqing froze, a flicker of panic crossing her face. The laughter around the room slowly died down as everyone began exchanging awkward glances. Chang Rui quickly hung up the phone, frantically tapping the screen while trying to smooth things over. Maybe his phone really just can't get a signal right now. How could he ever block you, Wanqing? Not until hell freezes over. By the end of her sentence, even she couldn't hide the awkwardness. Jiang Shufu looked thoughtful. Maybe he is actually serious this time. Su Wanqing scoffed coldly. A breakup is a breakup. You think I'm playing games? I have absolutely no desire to play this kind of game a second time. From now on, if anyone dares bring up Xiao Yi's name again, don't blame me for cutting ties with you. Jiang Shufu narrowed her eyes slightly, letting out a soft murmur before leaving. Just make sure you don't regret it. Su Wanqing curled her lips in complete dismissal. Seeing the tension, Cece quickly jumped in to play peacemaker. Hey, let's not get so serious. We're all friends here. Come on, we drank a bit too much last night. By the time the chauffeur drove Su Wanqing back to the villa, the first light of dawn was breaking. She collapsed onto the bed, a wave of intense exhaustion washing over her. Yet, she forced herself up to take a quick shower in the bathroom. Enveloped in the lemony mist, Su Wanqing couldn't help but think. He shouldn't be pestering her about this anymore, right? When she opened her eyes again, she was jolted awake by a sharp pain. Clutching her stomach, she dragged herself up from the bed. Ugh, my stomach hurts. The name had barely escaped her lips before she abruptly froze. Su Wanqing knitted her brows in annoyance. Wow, he's really outdone himself this time. He has got a lot more backbone than before. Let's see just how long he can keep up this stubborn act. But wait, where's the medicine? Su Wanqing went out to the living room and began tossing things around, rummaging through every single cabinet and drawer in sight. Still, the household first aid kit was nowhere to be found. She called Nanny Wang. Nanny Wang answered, sounding utterly bewildered. What do you mean medicine? It's kept in the medical kit. Su Wanqing's temples throbbed violently. She took a deep breath. Where is the medical kit? In the drawer of the bedroom walk-in closet, there are several boxes stocked in there. Mystery said that whenever you drink too much, your stomach acts up easily the next morning when you wake up, so he kept the medicine in the bedroom to make it easy to grab. Miss, are you still there? Nanny Wang glanced at her phone. Why did she hang up? Su Wanqing walked into the walk-in closet. Sure enough, she found the medical kit in the drawer. Inside, it's completely filled with the stomach medicine she usually takes, a total of 5 boxes. After taking the medicine, her pain begins to subside. Her tense nerves finally start to relax. She casually pushes the drawer back in. Suddenly, she freezes mid-motion. The watches, accessories, clothes, everything is completely accounted for except for all of my identification documents in the drawer, including my ID card, passport, degree certificate, and graduation diploma. They're all completely gone. Looking over at the suitcases piled up in the corner, sure enough, one is missing. Su Wanqing stands frozen on the spot. An inexplicable rage rushes straight to her head. Fine, fine. You really are something. I knew it. You can't spoil a man. The more you indulge them, the worse their temper gets. Just then, the sound of the front door opening suddenly comes from downstairs. Su Wanqing immediately heads downstairs. Why is it you? Su Haoyu is changing his shoes. Hearing her voice, he looks slightly surprised. Who else did you think it would be? Su Wanqing walks over to the sofa and sits down, her face entirely expressionless. What are you doing here? Something wrong? Nanny Wang told me your stomach was acting up again. So, by order of mother, I've come to check on you and show some concern for my dear older sister. As Su Haoyu speaks, he walks toward the kitchen. I haven't even had lunch yet. Just happened to come by to get a free meal. Another reason he has such a good impression of E is because the food he cooks is simply delicious. However, half a minute later, Su Haoyu calls out. Sis, why is the fridge so completely empty? Where is E? He shouldn't be out today. E again. It's always E. Su Wanqing pinches her temples, completely ignoring him. Su Haoyu walks out of the kitchen with a disappointed look on his face. Is he feeling unwell? When I saw him at the hospital yesterday, his face looked pretty pale. Su Wanqing instinctively sits up a bit straighter. You saw him at the hospital? Yeah. Yesterday, I went to Shireen Hospital to visit Professor Liang. I ran into E right at the entrance of the inpatient building. Sis, let me tell you, Professor Liang agreed to give me a spot on the livestream. Hearing this, the woman frowns. Why would he be at the hospital? You're asking me if you don't even know. How could I possibly know? Su Wanqing says nothing. Maybe he wasn't the one who was sick. Maybe he was just visiting someone else. But then again, I've never heard of E having any friends. His entire life revolves around nothing but you. Su Wanqing stands up. Are you done talking? If you're done, get out of here. I'm still half asleep. Wow, you really want to kick me out that badly? Fine. I'm leaving. Su Haoyu huffs as he puts his shoes back on. Oh, right. I actually have a mission today. Su Wanqing doesn't want to listen at all. She heads straight upstairs. Ignoring her reaction, Su Haoyu continues, tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. at the West Coast restaurant, Mom set up a blind date for you. Don't be late. You talk too much. Su Haoyu makes a face at her back. Only then does he leave. Having sent Su Haoyu away, Su Wanqing goes to the study to handle company business. By the time she finishes working, the sun has already set. Outside the window, twilight deepens and the city lights begin to flicker on. Only then does Su Wanqing feel a pang of hunger. She takes out her phone. What on earth is that guy doing? Oh, I'm so sorry. I have a class. I will come find you as soon as it's over. That pet name makes Su Wanqing feel entirely uncomfortable. Finish your work. Then she hangs up immediately and tosses the phone aside. Half a minute later, someone calls. Su Wanqing doesn't even look and keeps working. Not until her stomach starts aching badly is she forced to leave the study. Having made plans to eat with Chang Rui and a few other girlfriends, Su Wanqing changes her clothes and prepares to head out. Hearing the door open, the young man sitting by the entrance abruptly stands up and turns around, sporting a clean, bright smile. I knocked on the door, but you probably didn't hear it, so I could only sit here and wait. He glances at the designer bag slung over the woman's shoulder. Are you heading out? Su Wanqing doesn't answer. She simply frowns and asks, how did you find this place? Joan looks a bit guilty. I asked your friend Chang Rui. No, wait. It wasn't her. It was Jiang Shufu. Come in first. A smile returns to the boy's eyes as he takes a large step inside while looking around the place. He complains half-heartedly. Babe, after you hung up, you didn't take any of my calls. I was worried sick for so long. Didn't you say you had class? He smiles. My girlfriend is way more important. Babe, you haven't eaten yet, right? Driven by some strange impulse, Su Wanqing speaks up. Do you know how to make stomach-soothing porridge? Stomach-soothing porridge? I don't know how yet, but I can learn. Declining Joan's subtle hints that he wants to stay the night, Su Wanqing finishes the takeout he brought over. Then she drives him back to his campus. Only then does she go to meet Chang Rui. She remembers Su Haoyu's mention of seeing E at the hospital earlier today. Even though the two of them have broken up, all those years of affection are still there. Even as ordinary friends, she should at least check on him. She opens WeChat. Are you sick? Right after sending it, a notification pops up stating she needs to send a friend request for verification. Chang Rui glances at the woman drinking alone in silence and quietly nudges her seat closer to Jiang Shufu. What's wrong with Wanqing? Ever since Su Wanqing walked through the door, she's been wearing a long face. Even the lively atmosphere from earlier has quieted down quite a bit. Knowing exactly what happened, Jiang Shufu adds fuel to the fire, clearly enjoying the drama. She got blocked by a certain someone. Hearing no response, Su Wanqing's face darkens even further. Clang! The wine glass slammed hard onto the glass table. Her gorgeous face was contorted with rage. I told you not to bring him up again. Are you deaf? Jiang Shufu shrugged, choosing to shut her mouth. The atmosphere instantly shifted. The people singing froze like statues and fell dead silent. The crowd around them went quiet too, not daring to utter another word. Chang Rui choked on her drink, coughing violently. Holy crap, E is serious about this. Another girl felt a bit tipsy from the alcohol. She whispered to Chang Rui. Has Xiaoyi gone back yet? Chang Rui shook her head. How would she dare speak up now? She simply replied, I don't know. Sounds like he hasn't gone back yet. The bartender brought over 5 more rounds of drinks. Someone boldly tried to hype up the crowd. Hey, let's play truth or dare. Everyone here was sharp. They had all brought their own companions tonight. With a few knowing winks, everyone immediately caught on. They jumped right in to liven up the mood and break the awkward tension. Dare sounds awesome. Count me in. I love dares. Just then, a man was pushed right into the center of the lounge. Perfect timing. Our sister Wanqing is one person short over here. The man was shoved right into the seat next to Su Wanqing. He was the top host of this entire establishment. And of course, it wasn't his first time entertaining Su Wanqing. Sister Wanqing. Su Wanqing suddenly stood up, completely losing interest. Enjoy your night, guys. I'm heading out first. She left behind a crowd of bewildered faces. For the host, a massive booking fee for the night had just vanished into thin air. Outside the bar, the driver asked Su Wanqing in the back seat where she wanted to go. After downing 2 glasses of brandy, her head was spinning. Thinking of her empty villa, she sighed and told him to drive to the office. It was 10 p.m. Her assistant was just packing up to head home. Right as she gathered her things, she saw Su Wanqing stepping out of the elevator. President Su, what are you doing here? The assistant's shocked expression only made her feel more irritated. What time is it? Are you heading out? Is there anything else you need me to do? Su Wanqing was about to say it was fine. But having skipped dinner and drunk 2 glasses of liquor on an empty stomach, a sharp, agonizing cramp suddenly shot through her stomach. Her face turned a shade paler. Go order some food for me. She paused, thinking it over, then added, get it from the best restaurant. The assistant worked quickly. 20 minutes later, a beautifully packaged meal box was delivered right in front of Su Wanqing. But the moment she opened it, she couldn't help but frown. Why is it seafood porridge? The assistant looked completely lost. But the most famous signature dish at Bu Yuan is their seafood porridge. Forget it. You can go now. The seafood porridge looked and smelled absolutely perfect. The first spoonful brought a light aromatic fragrance, bursting with the fresh, sweet flavor of seafood. Yet, after only a few bites, she lost her appetite and set the spoon down. Su Wanqing couldn't help but miss the millet porridge I used to make. She really was losing her mind. Returning to the temporary lodging from the hospital, I fumbled for the switch on the wall. The moment I flipped it, a commotion filled the air. The lights flooded the room. What met my eyes was Jing Hui pinning down a young woman who was wearing a sexy silk nightgown. They were deep in a passionate embrace, blinking against the sudden glare of the lights. When Jing Hui looked up, a dazed expression plastered across his face. You're back. My mouth twitched slightly. Listen. Why don't you guys put some clothes on first? I immediately spun around, turning my back to them, giving them some time to get properly dressed. It looks like I can't stay at Jing Hui's place for much longer. No matter how close friends are, everyone needs their own space. Living together for too long is bound to become inconvenient for both sides. Jing Hui just smirked casually, not bothered in the slightest by what had just happened. He casually buttoned up his shirt, then picked up his jacket from the floor and tossed it over the woman. The woman's eyes were still heavy with passion. Jing Hui patted her cheek soothingly, be good. Go wait for me in the bedroom. The girl obediently gathered her clothes and flashed a bright smile in my direction. Hi there. Good evening. I instinctively muttered back. Hi, Aisha. The woman chuckled but said nothing as she walked into the room. Jing Hui poured himself a glass of red wine, taking a slow sip, and let out a satisfied sigh. Then he leisurely corrected me. This one's Nina, not Aisha. Where did you go? What took you so long? Jing Hui noticed my eyes were a bit red. Frowning slightly, he asked, have you been crying? I went to the hospital today to visit Professor Liang. The two of us were college classmates and were both students under Professor Liang. Jing Hui was still in the university chat group, so he had heard about it. He cast a quiet glance at me, opening his mouth to speak, but hesitated. Back then, I was Professor Liang's most prized student. Others might not have known, but as my best bro closer than family, he had seen it with his own eyes. He watched the professor give me private one-on-one tutoring, guiding me through everything and even including my name on research papers. Mind you, I was just an undergraduate back then. Professor Liang wasn't even my official thesis advisor. Yet, he was willing to shower me with so many academic resources. I heard the professor's illness is quite severe this time. How is his recovery going after the surgery? I shook my head. Jing Hui let out a frustrated laugh. Just how exactly did you visit him? You don't know the first thing about the patient's condition. I didn't dare go inside. You're really that cowardly. Seeing the look on my face, Jing Hui couldn't help but mock me. You brought this on yourself. I remained silent. Seeing my stubborn silence, Jing Hui suddenly realized something. All that food you prepared this morning. You made it all to bring to the professor, didn't you? Do you really plan on keeping this up forever? My mind was perfectly clear. I looked up at him. The professor and I will have to face each other sooner or later. There are some people and some things that running away from will never fix. Jinghui, can you come with me to see the professor, please? It's about time I take responsibility for how reckless and irrational I was back then. I really ought to take responsibility for how impulsive and reckless I was back then. I need to offer him a formal apology. It's what I owe him. Jinghui choked on his wine, nearly coughing it up. He coughed twice. His face was the definition of refusal. Give me a break, man. It's not like you don't know. The only class I ever failed in college and had to retake was Professor Liang's elective. Just seeing him stresses me out. Besides, I'm a nobody. The professor probably doesn't even remember who I am. I really can't help you with this. Seeing how desperately he wanted to avoid it, I didn't push any further. Jinghui's eyes suddenly lit up with a sly gleam as he changed the subject. But I actually know the perfect person for this. Do you remember my cousin Wu? Hearing the name, I nodded. Of course, I remember when you, the youngest leading figure in the domestic physics community. She studied under Professor Liang during her undergraduate years. Now, she's already a heavy hitter in the international physics community. We went to the same university, but in different years, so I'm technically her junior. I had already heard legends about her when I first enrolled. It wasn't until I met Jinghui later that I found out she was his cousin. Over the years, she worked at a physics research institute abroad and only returned to the country 3 months ago. My cousin was actually asking about the professor's condition a couple of days ago. She just hasn't had the time. It's perfect if the two of you go together. The more Jinghui talked about it, the more perfect it seemed. He called when you right then and there. It rang twice before connecting. I heard a soft, elegant voice on the line carrying a hint of cold professionalism. What is it? Jinghui explained the situation briefly. There was some noise in the background. She seemed very busy. The call lasted less than a minute before she hung up. Jinghui patted my shoulder. All set. I set it up for you. Meet her tomorrow at 2 p.m. at the Shirin restaurant. Just get some good sleep today. Worry about the rest tomorrow. Thanks. I got it. The next day, I left the house half an hour early. Arriving at the restaurant, I pushed the door open and went inside. The waiter led me through the dining area. Looking up, I saw her sitting by the window. Her hair fell loosely over her shoulders, and she was sipping her coffee with an indifferent expression. Sensing my gaze, she looked up, her expression unchanging. What would you like to drink? Snapping out of it, I pulled out the chair across from her and sat down. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. Not really. I only got here 5 minutes early myself. I still have a few sets of data to run in the lab, so I can only give you 30 minutes today. Is that enough? I immediately nodded. That's plenty. The waiter came over and I ordered a glass of lemon water. When you cut straight to the chase? Regarding the visit to Professor Liang, what exactly do you want me to do? I really appreciated this no-nonsense attitude. I slowly explained my purpose. Professor Liang has already been discharged from the hospital. I don't know his current address, so I was hoping you could take me with you to visit him if possible. My eyes flickered slightly. Could you help calm him down if he gets angry? You know, since getting furious is bad for one's health. Hearing this, the corners of her mouth seemed to twitch into a faint smile. I continued, I know you're very busy, so you can decide on the time. 2 days from now. Then I thanked her. Holding my lemon water, I suddenly asked, why are you willing to help me? When you looked at me with her bright clear eyes? Just when I thought she wasn't going to answer, she took a sip of her coffee and spoke slowly. Because you are Xiaoyi. Professor Liang once said that so far he has 3 major regrets in life. The first is his inability to fully explore the vastness of scientific research. The second is having no children. And the third is Xiaoyi. I froze, my fingernails digging into my palm. When you looked straight at me with a sharp, piercing gaze, a hint of scrutiny and evaluation flashed through her eyes. But it quickly settled back into a calm stillness. This was her first time meeting Xiaoyi in person, but it wasn't the first time she had heard the name. To be called a lifelong regret by Professor Liang and to be placed on the same level as his scientific career and family. What exactly makes him so special? My throat fell dry. I lowered my eyes slightly. I could vividly picture the disappointed and sorrowful look in my teacher's eyes whenever he mentioned me. When you pulled out a piece of paper and wrote down a string of numbers, this is my phone number. I glanced at it. It was beautiful handwriting. On the other side of the restaurant, a waiter set a dessert down. Here is the tiramisu you ordered. As the waiter set the dessert down, he couldn't help but secretly observe the guests at the table. The beautiful woman looked completely indifferent with a faint hint of impatience showing in her eyes. The man across from her wore a high-end tailored suit, looking every bit like a wealthy playboy from a prominent family. Wanqing, I heard from Aunt Sue that you have a weak stomach. My family has a doctor who specializes in treating stomach issues. Su Wanqing tapped on her phone, offering only occasional half-hearted replies. This blind date was arranged by Aunt Sue. Since she had already shown up, she didn't plan on making a scene. It was just that she had absolutely zero interest in anything the man was saying. Her gaze drifted into the distance, suddenly freezing. About 4 or 5 tables away, I was sitting opposite a woman. She couldn't hear the conversation, but she could see the faint smile on my face. The voice beside her ear, which she had barely been tolerating, suddenly became extremely grating. This made her feel increasingly irritated. Su Wanqing stood up with a cold sneer. I have to go. When Yu's schedule was incredibly tight, squeezing out 30 minutes was already her absolute limit. I expressed my understanding as the two of us stood up to leave the restaurant together. I stepped ahead to hold the door open, gesturing for Yu to go first. Thanks. She walked out to the curb. My ride is here. I waved goodbye. See you the day after tomorrow, I said, staying right where I was. I watched her car drive off until it completely disappeared from sight. Only then did I finally look away. But the exact moment I turned around, out of nowhere, I found myself looking straight into a pair of eyes. Those eyes were burning with mockery and biting coldness. Wow, found a replacement already. As Su Wanqing stepped closer, she noticed something. The hair color she used to love so much on me was gone. I had dyed it back to solid black. No designer watch, no luxury couture suit, just a plain white t-shirt, completely stripped of luxury. Yet those eyes of mine seemed a bit brighter and sharper than before. There wasn't a single trace of the typical bloom or heartbreak that follows a breakup. If this was all an act, then Su Wanqing had to admit I was putting on a damn good show. So good, in fact, that it successfully pissed her off. I knew her all too well. This exact expression was always the warning sign before she exploded. The woman let out a scoffing laugh. But honestly, your taste is pretty garbage. After staying by my side for so many years, you should at least have some standards left, right? Don't just settle for any random stray dog off the street. Otherwise, where am I supposed to hide my face as your ex-girlfriend? Suddenly, I found it almost funny. Though, underneath that laugh, a faint, deeply buried sorrow crept in. Too bad Su Wanqing didn't notice a thing. I didn't want to stand there listening to her endless accusations anymore, so I cut her off. I have things to take care of. I'm leaving. Leaving? Where could you possibly go? Back to Jing Huai's apartment. That's the only place you have left. Though, I'll give you credit. You acted real tough this time. You actually took the check and all your IDs with you. Fine. You want to play games? Let's play. I slowed my breathing, forcing myself to keep my emotions in check. First of all, Miss Wen and I are just ordinary friends. It's not as pathetic and dirty as you think. Second, we broke up. Whatever you want to believe is your own business. Just then, the cab I ordered pulled up right beside us. I pulled the door open and slid inside. Sir, please just drive. Xiaoyi, you're really getting bolder by the day. 3 months ago during our massive fight, she had threatened me with this exact trick before. But this time was different. He actually went ahead and met another woman right in front of her face. Suddenly, a strong, heavy arm wrapped around her shoulders. Fang Ziren leaned in closer, his presence almost touching hers. Wanqing, why did you just run off like that without a word? The thick, overpowering stench of cigarette smoke hit her. Su Wanqing couldn't help but frown in disgust, but she didn't push him away. Instead, she aggressively grabbed the man's arm. What's the matter? Want to come with me? Oh, so he thinks he's the only one who can find someone else. As if she couldn't find a guy whenever she wanted. Inside the cab, I looked through the rear-view mirror at the intimate display between the man and woman. Suddenly, a self-deprecating smile forced its way onto my lips. So, it wasn't just empty rumors. 6 whole years. Turns out, I threw all my devotion to the dogs. As the taxi drifted further and further away, Su Wanqing's face instantly darkened. She coldly shoved Fang Ziren's hand off her. Fang Ziren had no idea what was going on with her, so he tried to press close to her again. But the next second he was ruthlessly pushed away by the woman. She walked away without looking back even once. Su Wanqing got into her car, starting the engine while aggressively dialing Su Haoyu's number. Aren't you supposed to be on a blind date? Su Haoyu? Everything that happened at the West Shore restaurant today. Did you leak that to Xiaoyi? Can you please use your brain for once? Why do you have to run your mouth to outsiders about everything? Mom forced me into this blind date. And instead of helping me cover it up, you fed the information straight to him. You basically invited him to bring a woman here just to spite me. Do you even have a brain? How can you do something so incredibly stupid? Su Haoyu was completely caught off guard by her sudden roaring scream and jumped in fear. Wait, sis, what are you even talking about? Why am I suddenly getting blasted out of nowhere? He stared at his phone as the call violently disconnected, his hand trembling. Seriously, I didn't even do anything. On the other side of town, the real estate agent was enthusiastically pitching the place. Mr. Xiao, this is hands down the best property near Binhai University. Just look at the natural light and the surroundings. There is a whole line of people waiting to rent this place. If you don't make a decision right now, you might lose out on this house entirely. I took one last thorough look around the entire place. Alright, I'll take it. I didn't hesitate and signed a 1-year lease on the spot. The moment Jing Hui walked through the door, he saw open suitcases sprawled across the floor. You're moving out? Yeah, I already found a place. Did Su Wanqing come crawling back to you? Not bad, man. At least you held out for a whole week this time. You really need to give women like her the cold shoulder for a bit. Otherwise, she'll just keep walking all over you. Does she honestly think she's some kind of legendary beauty? My hands froze in the middle of packing. Our eyes met. Jing Hui. This time, Su Wanqing and I are completely over. I'm never going back. Jing Hui blinked, stunned. For the first time, he actually seemed to believe it. Good riddance. You should have done this ages ago. There are plenty of fish in the sea. You don't need to waste your life on someone like Su Wanqing. I nodded. Jing Hui let out a heavy sigh. Look, man. Can you absolutely guarantee it this time? You're not going to run right back to her with your tail between your legs in a couple of days, right? I smiled weakly. The new apartment I rented was old, and a lot of the wall paint had already started peeling off. On my way back, I stopped by the hardware market. I bought a bucket of eco-friendly paint to give the place a fresh coat myself. By the time the bucket was empty, I stretched, trying to relieve my aching lower back. I stepped out into the hallway to bring in the remaining supplies. I didn't expect to lose my footing. Taking an extra step forward, I accidentally kicked the bucket over. Even though I reacted quickly to save it, a small puddle of paint still managed to spill right in front of my neighbor's door. I was halfway through cleaning it up when the firmly shut door suddenly swung open. Our eyes locked. I was just about to open my mouth to apologize, but to my utter shock, I recognized the face looking back at me. You live here, too. What are you doing here? When you glanced down at the paint on the floor, then her gaze shifted to behind me. So, the person moving in today is you. I didn't expect such a coincidence either. As you can see, from today onwards we're neighbors. When Yu's eyes flickered. The reason she chose to live here was because it was very close to both the lab and the university. It made it convenient for her daily lectures and for heading over to the lab to run experiments. But why was Xiaoyi here? Seeing her stand still, I figured she minded that I had messed up the hallway. I'm sorry. I spilled some paint just now. I'll have it cleaned up in a second. I picked up the pace and quickly cleaned it all up. As I headed downstairs, I pointed to the trash by her feet since I was already going down. I can take that down for you while I'm at it. When you didn't decline. To return the favor, she brought out a step ladder from her place. If you're painting the walls, this will make it a lot easier. Thanks. Having the ladder made painting the walls way more efficient. In just a single morning, I managed to give all the peeling walls in the apartment a fresh coat. Instantly, the place looked clean and orderly. As the warm yellow light washed over the room, the old musty atmosphere completely vanished. The whole place looked brand new. On the video call, Jing Hui remarked with a sigh. So, this is your new place. It actually looks pretty nice. Your hands-on skills are as impressive as ever. You really are the same person who back in the day single-handedly completely remodeled our entire dorm room. Well, it's my own place, so of course I had to spruce it up. Xiaoyi, you're much stronger than I thought. Finding a new goal so quickly. When Jing Hui heard the new address, he had already guessed a few things, but he didn't bring it up. I'm just really happy that you're able to pick yourself back up. Hanging up the call, a wave of melancholy washed over me. I came to my senses far too late. Fortunately, there was still time to make amends. It was 6 p.m. After being busy all day, I still hadn't eaten. There was toast and fresh vegetables in the fridge along with some millet. I whipped up a simple pot of porridge and made a sandwich. While returning the ladder, I thought about it and packed some of the porridge in the sandwich. Wen Yu was deep into revising her paper's experimental data. Hearing the knock, she left her study and opened the door. Thanks for the step ladder. Also, I made some dinner. If you don't mind, it's something simple to get you by. When you froze for a second, she reached out and took the food. Thanks. Back in her room, she went back to adjusting the data. By the time everything was fully revised, it was already 8:30 p.m. Her stomach was completely empty. She was absolutely starving. Out of habit, she pulled out her phone to order takeout. Her eyes inadvertently caught the bag sitting under the desk lamp. She opened it up and found an insulated layer inside. The sandwich and the porridge were still warm. After finishing the sandwich, she took a spoonful of the millet porridge. It had a simple, smooth texture. It tasted better than most of the porridge she usually bought. After a few bites, a comforting warmth spread through her stomach. Not a bad cook. In no time, she had completely polished off both the porridge and the sandwich. At 10 p.m., when you finished her night run, on her way back, she ran straight into me. The two of us spoke at the exact same time. Out for a walk? You went for a run. Yeah, just out for a stroll and picking up a package while I'm at it. She slowed her pace to catch her breath and walked side by side with me. Thanks for dinner tonight. It tasted great. You've helped me twice now. I should be the one saying thank you. Remembering the conversation, when you said casually, I just asked my junior colleague. Professor Liang is resting at home these days. I plan to head over tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Does that work for you? Tomorrow at 10 a.m. The thought of facing the professor whom I hadn't seen in 6 years suddenly made me anxious at the final hour. Is there a problem? No. When you glanced at my profile? Even though she noticed the shift in my mood, she didn't pry any further. The two of us parted ways at our doors and went inside. I took a shower, feeling completely distracted. In the dead of night, I tossed and turned. I barely slept a wink the entire night. I got out of bed early. After having breakfast, I waited for you. At 10 a.m. sharp, the knock on the door rang out. I pulled the door open immediately. I was already fully dressed and ready to go. When you blinked in surprise for a second, ready. I walked out first and she followed a step behind. Compared to the anxiety of last night, I had clearly returned to normal. When you drove her car over, and I climbed into the passenger seat. On the way, as we passed a fruit market, I suddenly spoke up. Can you pull over for a second? Just give me 2 minutes. I want to go down and buy some fruit. She looked entirely bewildered. Fruit for Professor Liang. When you gripped the steering wheel a bit confused? Is all that trouble really necessary? I suddenly found it a little amusing. Do you always visit people empty-handed like this? When you nodded. Honestly, I silently gave her a thumbs up. Impressive. I guess academic geniuses just don't sweat the small stuff. Even so, she still pulled over to the curb. Professor Liang lived in an area not far from the university, in a row of detached villas along the mountain road. The architectural style blended Eastern and Western designs, simple yet retaining a sense of deep heritage. Walking through a grove of maple trees, the entire courtyard came into view. For 6 long years, I could only hold tightly onto the seatbelt in my hands. Looking down at the basket of fruit by my feet, I whispered a word of thanks. Sensing something, when you looked over, are you not getting out? I want to wait a moment. The woman stared at me for 2 seconds before nodding, then headed inside first. I was deeply grateful that she didn't ask a single question. Watching her walk away, I took 2 deep breaths. Only then did I unbuckle my seatbelt and step out of the car. The yard was blooming with all kinds of flowers. The moment I stepped into the courtyard, a faint floral scent drifted over with the breeze. Before even crossing the threshold, I could already hear the professor's voice. My heart trembled slightly. I quickly hurried after you. Professor Liang. Setting down the latest issue of an academic journal, he looked up. Oh, you. What brings you here? When you stepped forward to support him and helped him stand up, the two of them slowly walked inside. I came to see you. Are you feeling any better? It's just a minor ailment. There was no need for all of you to rush over like this. You shouldn't have worried. I'm perfectly fine. When you hesitated for a moment, I brought someone with me today. Who? Professor Liang looked up in confusion. Following her gaze, he looked over. I appeared at the entryway standing there meekly with my head bowed. I looked like a child who had done something wrong. Professor Liang's pupils contracted. He instinctively took 2 steps forward, but very quickly the shock and faint joy in his eyes turned into complicated, deliberate coldness. What are you doing here? I was completely at a loss. Teacher. Professor Liang hardened his tone, his face entirely expressionless. Who was the one who kept repeating back then that they wanted to pursue love? That you would throw everything away for love? What's the point of coming back now? I bit my lip tightly, tears streaming down my face. Teacher, I'm sorry. I let you down and I was wrong. After a pause, I whispered softly, is it still in time? Finally, Professor Liang let out a long sigh, his expression gradually softening. Do you have any idea how long I've been waiting for you? 6 years. A full 6 years. I had no idea that my teacher had been waiting for me all this time. It's good that you finally come to your senses. But behind this sudden realization, I wonder how much grievance and hardship you've hidden away. A look of deep heartache washed over Professor Liang's face. When you maintained a quiet, unobtrusive presence the entire time. When the two of us finally embraced and reconciled, she quietly stepped out of the living room and went to the balcony, giving us the space to talk in private. Meeting again after so many years, Professor Liang couldn't help but ask about my current situation, though he deliberately avoided mentioning anything about my love life. Looking at the professor, I spoke with complete sincerity. I've rented an apartment near the university. I've already rented a place near the campus. And I've started reviewing my studies, preparing to take the graduate school entrance exam at the end of the year. Professor Liang's eyes lit up instantly. An overwhelming surge of joy washed over him. Really? Is that true? I nodded, too ashamed to look my teacher in the eye. I had completely ruined the path that was paved for me back then. And now I wanted to start all over again. Good. Good. You should have done this a long time ago. Don't you dare get cold feet now. We had a deal that you would be my graduate student. It looks like keeping that slot open for you this year wasn't in vain after all. I was stunned. Although I had an inkling when I went to see him in the hospital that Professor Liang might have specially reserved a spot for me. Actually, hearing it confirmed made it hard to believe. Oh, shall we? What did you ever do to deserve this? Teacher, it's still up in the air whether I can even pass the exam. Please don't raise your expectations too high. Professor Liang patted my shoulder. As long as you set your mind to it, there is no way you won't pass. I know your capabilities better than anyone. Unless you purposely fail the exam. Hearing this, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How could I ever do that? It's getting late. You and one you. Wait, where did one you go? Just then when you walked in from the balcony. Teacher, since it's already this late, you and your junior brother should stay for lunch. I'll cook for us personally. Hearing this, my expression changed completely. Wen Yu's expression looked equally complicated, so I hurriedly stepped forward to intervene. About that. Please don't trouble yourself. Let me do the cooking. It's not that I don't appreciate the gesture, but if the teacher cooks, I'm genuinely afraid the kitchen might blow up. Professor Liang let out an embarrassed cough, clearly having a very realistic understanding of his own culinary skills. Still, he couldn't lose face in front of his students. Clearing his throat. Well, fine. That works, too. I'm still recovering from my illness, so it's probably best if I don't cook right now. I swiftly tied on an apron and headed into the kitchen. It's really best if you don't. When you rolled up her sleeves and naturally followed right behind me. I'll go help. Professor Liang's gaze shifted back and forth between the two of us, the smile on his face deepening significantly. The refrigerator was completely packed and all the ingredients were incredibly fresh. The professor just got discharged from the hospital and is still recovering. So, I plan to make something light and gentle on the stomach. What do you need me to do? I glanced at the vegetable basket. Do you know how to wash vegetables? It shouldn't be that hard. I stepped aside to make room for her. Although the woman's movements were clumsy, she was surprisingly meticulous. Every bit of dirt on the green leaves was washed completely clean. I asked casually, are there any foods you don't eat? No, any preferences? Anything is fine. I muttered softly under my breath. You're surprisingly easy to please. Done washing. I looked over and let out a laugh. The washed red peppers and bok choy were stacked together with absolute precision. It was clearly the work of someone with severe obsessive-compulsive tendencies. When you looked confused, what are you laughing at? Cough. It's nothing. You can head out now. Hearing this, she wiped her hands dry and gave a slight nod. I ended up making a huge table of dishes, keeping the flavors on the lighter side. Almost all of them were Professor Liang's absolute favorites. Professor Liang sighed with deep emotion. To think he still remembers all of this. After finishing the meal, I proactively began to clear the table and wash the dishes. When you voluntarily went into the kitchen to help, Professor Liang stood by the doorframe. How did you and Xiaoyi meet? Just then, a voice came from outside the door. Professor Liang, you have a visitor. Professor Liang turned around and walked out to the living room only to see the boy smiling as he stood up from the sofa. Hello, Professor. I'm Su Haoyu. I visited you in the hospital before and I also asked you about this year's graduate admissions. Right, I remember you. Please have a seat. Su Haoyu's smile brightened even more. I heard you've been resting at home lately, so I brought you some supplements. Professor Liang remained expressionless, glancing at the gift box on the tea table. Ginseng, bird's nest, and cordyceps. His smile faded a bit. About the graduate slots I mentioned last time. Professor Liang interrupted. Thank you. I appreciate the thought, but you should take these things back. As for graduate students, I recruit every year. The competition is pretty stiff. Whether you make it or not depends entirely on your own capability. Su Haoyu was stunned. Last time in the hospital room, the professor clearly didn't say that. He said there was a chance and to give it a shot, to keep it up. Why is the professor acting differently today? Student Su, I'm sorry, but I still have guests here, so I won't keep you any longer. I'll have Xiao Wang help carry your things to your car. Such an obvious dismissal. How could Su Haoyu not catch on? He had no idea what went wrong. He left looking completely crestfallen. He accidentally bumped into someone. Xiaoyi, what are you doing here? The person in front of him wore a simple white t-shirt and a tacky traditional floral apron holding a black trash bag in his hand. I was a bit surprised, too, but quickly put on a smile to greet him. What a coincidence. Su Haoyu sized me up from head to toe. Why are you working as a part-time cleaner? Did my sister stop giving you money? Oh my god, this is so pathetic. I can't take it. He grumbled as he frantically walked outside. As he walked, he pulled out his phone. Hey sis, I really can't hold back anymore. The call connected. Just as Su Haoyu was about to vent, a cold voice cut in from the other side. I'm busy. I don't have time for your nonsense. No. Who's talking nonsense? You're the one being unreasonable. How did you become so cold? Don't you know that decent men deserve proper treatment? Enough. Go throw a fit somewhere else. What are you even saying? Xiaoyi at the very least washes your clothes, cooks your meals, hangs out with you, and stays by your side. How can you be so heartless that you forced him to work as a part-time cleaner just to make money? If word gets out, where am I supposed to hide my face? There was a moment of silence on the other end. Who did you say? Xiaoyi. What do you mean by part-time cleaner? Su Haoyu recounted everything he had just seen. This time, you've really gone too far. Even a loyal dog deserves better. Don't treat people badly. Whatever Su Haoyu said next, Su Wanqing didn't hear a single word of it. All that echoed in her ears was Xiaoyi is working as a part-time cleaner to make money. It seemed that although he cashed that 50 million check, he didn't dare to actually use it. Su Wanqing's expression wasn't exactly pleasant, but it wasn't exactly ugly either. It was a strange, complicated look. He left pretty decisively back then, so she thought he actually had what it takes. Turns out he can barely even survive without her. Her friend pointed at the card in her hand and reminded her, Wanqing, what are you spacing out for? It's your turn. I'm not playing anymore. Su Wanqing grabbed her purse, took her car keys, and prepared to leave. Cece looked bewildered. Didn't you say you wanted to stay? Not anymore. I have things to do. This time, he should be the one begging her to take him back, right? Su Wanqing sat in her car and waited and waited. During that time, aside from 2 work calls and a bunch of business messages, she didn't get the phone call she was actually waiting for. She simply stopped waiting, started the car, and drove straight to Jing Huai's apartment. As soon as she got out of the car, someone called her name. She turned around and saw Jing Huai arm in arm with a girl seemingly on their way home. Jing Huai looked at her with a hint of weariness, his tone laced with impatience. What are you doing here? Where's Xiaoyi? Jing Huai wasn't about to indulge her. Wanqing, are you serious? Get this through your head. You two have already broken up. In what capacity are you asking me for him right now? How many times have we broken up? Can you even count it on both hands? So there's no point in pressing me. Don't make trouble for no reason. Jing Huai was amused by her arrogance and conceit. In your eyes, is Xiaoyi even less than a dog? You want him, so you cling to him. You're bored of him, so you toss him out. He doesn't matter anyway. He's not worth your time. Su Wanqing didn't want to listen to his nonsense. If you won't tell me, I'll go upstairs and find him myself. At this moment, the quiet girl next to Jing Huai, who hadn't spoken the whole time, took a step forward and blocked her with her body. Miss, breaking and entering is illegal. Su Wanqing didn't even spare her a glance. Her eyes locked onto Jing Huai as she sneered. You'll regret this, but it's useless even if you try to stop me. In the end, he'll still come crawling back to beg me like a good boy." With that, Su Wanqing got into her car and slammed on the gas, driving away. Jing Hui stomped his feet in anger. He cursed out loud. "What kind of person is she? Such a toxic woman. She's driving me insane." In the car, Su Wanqing received a call from Ji Ziren. She was in a terrible mood, so her tone was incredibly cold. "What is it?" "Wanqing, I recently discovered a hidden gem of a restaurant. The crabs are super fat. Tomorrow happens to be Saturday. Let's go eat there." "Okay. I'm busy on Saturday." "If you're busy on Saturday, Sunday works too." Ji Ziren gripped his phone tightly, his face turning tense. "I said, I'm busy. That's all for now." With that, Su Wanqing hung up immediately. Ji Ziren stared at the disconnected call. That same wave of panic swept over him once again. No, he had worked so hard to finally become Su Wanqing's official boyfriend. He couldn't just give up like this. As the sun began to set, when you and I said goodbye to Professor Liang. Professor Liang looked out at the darkening sky, reluctance clear in his eyes. "How did it get so late already? Why don't you stay for dinner before you go?" When you waved her hand. "No, thank you. I still have to head back to the lab." I shook my head as well. "There will be plenty of chances in the future." "All right, then. You two go on ahead. Be careful on the road. Make sure to come visit me more often when you're free." He directed that last part right at me. I nodded reflexively. "Oh, right. There are 2 files and 3 books on the table. Take them with you. They're the ones you left behind before." My major was bioinformatics, and I used to focus on algorithms. Before graduation, I had been planning to submit a paper to an academic journal, but it was only half finished. To think Professor Liang actually kept all of this for me. My eyes trembled slightly. "Professor." All right, get going. The lunchbox on the table has already been washed. Don't forget it." Hearing this, I froze for a moment. Professor Liang grumbled. "You stood right outside my hospital room. Yet, you didn't even bother to come in and see me. You just left a lunchbox. That meal almost made me overeat. I won't do it again." On the way back, I knew when you was busy. I wasn't thick-skinned enough to demand that she drive me all the way to my building. So I suggested she drop me off at the main gate of Binhai University. It was just a short walk anyway, so I could treat it as a stroll. When you nodded. Meanwhile, on the other side, Su Wanqing felt her heart leap into her throat when she spotted the figure sitting in front of her villa. Her heart tightened sharply. But as soon as she recognized the man's face, it sank heavily back down. Ji Ziren stood up in pleasant surprise. His bright dark eyes shone like stars as he looked at her. "Sister Wanqing, you're back. What are you doing here? I'm waiting for you. When I called you earlier, you said you were too busy. So, all I could do was wait for you. Since you said you were busy, I had to wait until you finished work before coming over. I didn't disrupt your work, did I?" "No. That's good." A smile reappeared on his face, but it quickly drooped again. "Sister Wanqing, I am hungry. Let's go then. I'll take you out to eat." The two went to a Western restaurant. Su Wanqing barely touched her food, but Ji Ziren thoroughly enjoyed the meal the whole time. Perhaps sensing she was in a bad mood today, he talked much less than usual. "Are you full?" Ji Ziren nodded. "Let's go. I'll take you back to school." The restaurant wasn't far from the Institute of Technology. After a drive of less than 10 minutes, the car pulled over to the curb. Ji Ziren paused just as he was about to push the door open. He turned to look at Su Wanqing. "Are you going to walk me in?" At the gates of the Institute of Technology, evening classes had just ended. Quite a few students were heading out to grab some food. Ji Ziren was the universally acknowledged campus heartthrob, so his arrival naturally drew many curious glances, especially since the campus heartthrob was with a stylish, elegant woman. Ji Ziren seemed completely deaf to the whispers of his classmates. He turned back to look at Su Wanqing. "When can I introduce you to my roommates, please? They're incredibly curious about you." Su Wanqing remained silent. Or rather, she had absolutely no interest in meeting the roommates he spoke of. Yet Ji Ziren acted as if he didn't notice her coldness at all. His handsome face broke into a bright smile. "Sister Wanqing, every single second spent with you makes me so happy." As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly turned to face Su Wanqing. Before she could even react to her slight surprise, a warm kiss landed directly on her lips. A chorus of gasps erupted all around them. So, the rumors were true. The campus heartthrob really is taken. Oh my god, this is just like an idol drama. Ji Ziren is so handsome and his girlfriend is gorgeous, too. They really are a match made in heaven. Right at that moment, I was standing at the very back of the crowd. It wasn't that I wanted to watch, but the commotion as I walked past was simply too loud to ignore. It completely drew me in. Su Wanqing snapped back to reality and looked at the smiling boy. Suddenly, a memory flashed through her mind of a pair of eyes just as bright, brimming with radiant life. Years ago at the Binhai University graduation ceremony, another boy had looked at her the exact same way. Xiaoyi, I chose you and I don't regret it. The memories she thought were long dead suddenly surged forward without warning, striking her very soul. She instinctively took a step back, putting some distance between herself and Ji Ziren. The boy looked confused. Sister Wanqing, it's getting late. You should head inside. No, I want to stay with you a bit longer. Before he could even step closer, Su Wanqing took the initiative instead. Wrapping her arms around his neck, she said, "Let's go up." I took in the entire scene. My fingers gripped the book so hard that my knuckles turned white. So, my heart can still ache like this. Yet, my expression remained terrifyingly calm, completely numb. Maybe it'll get used to it in time. Even quitting smoking comes with withdrawal symptoms, let alone letting go of someone I've loved for 6 years. I didn't linger any longer. I turned around and walked away. I still had to go back and study. Standing in the middle of the crowd, Su Wanqing seemed to sense something. She turned her head to look, catching sight of a faintly familiar back. He walked out into her line of sight. But in the next split second, the boy reached out and caught her palm, interlocking their fingers in an intimate hold. "What are you looking at?" Su Wanqing pulled her gaze back. "Nothing," she replied. She walked him to the front of his dorm building. Just as she was turning to leave, Ji Ziren tugged at her hand, refusing to let go. His eyes were full of deep attachment. "It's still early. Can't you stay and keep me company for a little longer?" Su Wanqing stroked his face gently. "Be good. I'll pick you up this weekend." Under the street lamp, Ji Ziren's eyes grew intensely flushed. "Sister Wanqing, can I come home with you tonight?" What those words implied was something practically any adult would understand. Su Wanqing froze for a fraction of a second. A flicker of complex emotion rose in her eyes. "You're still young. Let's wait a little longer." Ji Ziren looked a bit dazed. Yet a subtle wave of secret relief washed over his heart. "All right, I still have things to take care of. I'm heading out first." "Okay, remember to get some rest early. I'll bring you some millet porridge tomorrow." He didn't say another word, just spacing out as his mind drifted away again. Meanwhile, back at my apartment, the computer screen glowed. My fingers suddenly slowed down on the keyboard. Flashbacks of the two of them kissing flickered across my mind. I pursed my lips tightly. Getting up, I walked straight into the bathroom and splashed 3 handfuls of cold water onto my face. Only then did my brain finally start to clear up. There was no point in wasting thoughts on a chapter that had already ended. The absolute priority right now was preparing for the exam. I didn't have much time left. Returning to the computer desk, I opened the 2 books Professor Liang had given me. One was a standard textbook on bioinformatics, while the other looked like a personal notebook. It was filled with Professor Liang's own annotations. Aside from those, there was also a flash drive. I kept grinding until dawn was about to break. Shutting down the computer, I rushed to squeeze in some sleep. At 8 o'clock sharp, my eyes snapped open. I washed up, grabbed a quick breakfast, and headed out for the library with my study materials in tow. To my surprise, the moment I stepped out the door, I ran right into Wenyu, who had just gotten back. It was pouring outside. Water was still dripping from her folded umbrella. "You didn't just pull an all-nighter, did you?" "Yeah. I had to process the data for the lab experiment." Seeing her worn-out state, I handed over a bottle of warm milk. "Drink this. It'll help warm you up." "Thanks." I pointed at her shoulder. "You got caught in the rain. Remember to change out of those clothes." Wenyu tilted her head, only just realizing a patch of her shoulder was soaked. "Well, I'll head inside then." Giving her a small smile, I turned and headed downstairs. It was just before 9 o'clock. The library was already fairly crowded. I shook out my umbrella, but before I could even step inside, a sudden familiar voice called out, "Xiaoyi." Su Haoyu had specifically come down today to meet with the school administration regarding his postgraduate admission plans. He just happened to be passing by the library. Dropping his luggage, he had gotten temporarily stranded here by the downpour. Never expecting to run into someone he knew. "Xiaoyi, what are you doing at the library?" "Another part-time gig. Must be really strapped for cash lately, huh?" "Don't worry. I already talked to my sister about it." I told her to be a bit more generous with you from now on. So, quit these part-time jobs as soon as possible. Taking good care of my sister matters more than anything else. I heard her stomach issues flared up again yesterday. Before Su Haoyu could finish his sentence, a sharp voice suddenly cut him off. Who are you talking to? A tall, elegant, middle-aged woman with a sophisticated aura walked over. Shin Minghan stepped up to her son's side, shifting her gaze to look at me. Wasn't this her daughter's cheap former boyfriend? She sized me up from head to toe. Her face, which was already dripping with disapproval, twisted with an added layer of blatant disdain. She glanced at the library behind me, then scanned the 2 books in my hands, her eyes narrowed slightly. Mr. Xiao, what a coincidence. She deliberately spat out the word coincidence with extra bite. Shin Minghan let out a heavy sigh. I suppose you've really put a lot of thought into this act, but as the old saying goes, an ape in human clothes is still an animal, no matter how hard it plays the part. You can save these pathetic little tricks for someone else in the future. I don't buy it. Since we ran into each other today, I might as well make things completely clear to you once more. Swan Wanqing will never marry someone like you. However, considering you spent these past years playing the servant and handling her daily life, I'll grant that you've put in the hard labor, even if there's no real merit to it. Once she gets married, we will keep a position open for you by her side. As for anything beyond that, don't even dream about it. Know your place and stop demanding more than you deserve. Only by staying in your lane can you survive in the long run. Do you understand? However, the scene Shin Minghan had envisioned, of a young man weeping with boundless gratitude, never happened. Instead, she was met with a cold sneer. Mrs. Shun, you'd better save your charity for someone else. I don't have the stomach for it. Furthermore, Swanqing and I have already broken up. If we ever cross paths again, it would be best for everyone if we just act like total strangers. Shin Minghan looked down on me because I lacked a prestigious degree, had no background studying abroad, and didn't have a corporate career lined up after graduation. To put it bluntly, she thought I wasn't worthy of her precious daughter. In the past, I might have actually racked my brain trying to find ways to please this future mother-in-law. But now, I didn't even want Swanqing herself. So, who did her mother think she was? I flashed a subtle smile. Oh, right. Here is a piece of advice for you, Mrs. Shun. Try not to be so incredibly toxic when you speak. People like that tend to get treated poorly. Also, an ape in human clothing is called a clown. Learn the difference. Leaving it at that, I turned and walked straight into the library. Shen Minghan froze on the spot, completely stunned. What did he just say? How dare he speak to me like that? What kind of trash does he think he is? Does he still want a place in the Su family? Su Haoyu's arm was violently shaken as his mother gripped him in a furious frenzy. Only then did he snap out of his sheer shock. He mumbled blankly, "Mom, Xiaoyi just said he broke up with my sister." Poof. You actually believe that, right? Like he hasn't broken up with her a million times before. And it's not like we actually lose anything anyway. After all, everyone knows how much I love Swanqing. I was madly in love, completely devoted like a dog to its master. Even if you tried to chase me away, I wouldn't have left. Su Haoyu withdrew his gaze. Mom, don't forget. We have important business today. You're supposed to come with me to visit some alumni. Checking the time. If we don't leave right now, we're going to be late. Shen Minghan took a deep breath to calm down the irritation rising in her chest. Let's go. Who does that Xiaoyi think he is? We can't let him ruin my son's important business. Binhai University's library has a long history and an incredibly extensive collection of books. I walked around for 2 whole laps before finally finding a seat. Conveniently, right behind me was the bookshelf for bioinformatics. It made looking up references at any moment incredibly easy. As my eyes scanned the top shelf, I was surprised to see Wenyu's name. Driven by curiosity, I pulled the book out. Before I knew it, most of the day had slipped away. I had already read through most of it. It wasn't until 1 p.m. that I finally left the library, planning to grab a bite to eat before heading back to continue studying. Halfway through my meal, Jing Hui called. Jing, what's up? Are you at home? No, I'm at the library. Is something wrong? That toxic ex of yours, Swanqing, came looking for you yesterday. The moment she opened her mouth, she demanded to know where you were. As if I would ever tell her. You haven't run into her these past couple of days, right? You finally managed to rid yourself of that toxic woman. So, you absolutely cannot jump back into that fiery pit. I haven't. Hearing this, Jing Hui let out a sigh of relief. Good. By the way, are you free tonight? Do me a favor and visit a school official with me? Everything went smoothly. A smile spread across Su Haoyu's face, completely wiping away the frustration of being turned away by Professor Liang earlier. Let's go, Mom. After getting into the car, Shen Minghan frowned, pulling her gaze back from the direction of the library. You go on ahead. I still have things to take care of. With that, she made a phone call, instructing the family's other driver to bring a car around for her. Su Haoyu assumed his mother was off to attend another one of her high society ladies' gatherings, so he didn't give it a second thought. Little did he know, as soon as Shen Minghan got into the car, she gave a direct order to drive straight to Swanqing's company. Right after finishing her meeting, Swanqing saw her own mother marching in with a heavy frown, looking absolutely furious. Her stomach dropped. Mom, what brings you here? Why wouldn't I be allowed to come? It's not that. Shen Minghan gave a cold snort, walking straight over to the sofa and sitting down. If you can't keep your man in line, I don't mind stepping in to do it for you. Swanqing, take a good look at Xiao Yi's attitude. At the end of the day, it's all because you spoiled him. The woman's eyes narrowed. What did Xiao Yi do? You're seriously asking me that? I just ran into him at the Binhai University library. I barely said 2 words to him and he completely blew up at me. He called me harsh names and even mocked me for being ignorant. He really shows his low-class upbringing. The boy has absolutely no manners. You ran into him at the library? Yes. Instead of staying home to cook and clean like he should, he goes running off to the library to pretend he's pursuing academic goals. Does he honestly think that'll make me think higher of him? It's honestly a pipe dream. He even claimed that he has already broken up with you and that we'll be complete strangers from now on. Is that any way to speak to an elder? Does he even want to be a son-in-law to the Su family anymore? Suddenly, Shen Minghan's tone shifted. Did you two actually break up? As if possessed, Swanqing blurted out. Of course not. I knew it. There is no way someone like him would willingly let go after finally latching onto us. Anyway, now you know what happened. Make sure you give him a good piece of your mind when you get back. Hearing Shen Minghan's endless complaining only irritated Swanqing further. Mom, just drop it. I have another meeting to attend shortly. I'll have the driver take you home. Wait, I'm not finished yet. Seeing her daughter's expression grow increasingly dark, Shen Minghan took the hint and shut her mouth. Fine then, I'll take my leave for today, but you absolutely cannot let him off easy. Men need to be strictly disciplined. They only listen once they've been properly broken in. After seeing her mother out, Swanqing let out a long sigh. She looked out the floor-to-ceiling window as the sun began to set. She didn't want any unexpected changes. Reminded of something, Swanqing exhaled slowly, gazing at the setting sun outside the window. She felt uneasy about the potential variables. Then she remembered that Ji Ziren's birthday was just 2 days away. She pulled out her phone and texted Chang Rui asking what would be a good gift. Chang Rui replied instantly, men always love watches and belts. A sharp-looking watch should do the trick. If you don't know how to pick one, let's go together. Like a single person like me would know any better. Anyway, the two of them met up at a luxury watch boutique downtown. The store manager smiled and approached Swanqing. What kind of timepiece are you looking for today? Is it a gift for your boyfriend? How about this men's model? The design is understated yet sophisticated. It's absolutely perfect for a young gentleman. Chang Rui had no patience for things that didn't catch her eye. Taking one quick glance, she instantly lost interest and looked around the shop instead. A second later, she called out excitedly, Xiao Yi. Swanqing's entire body froze for a couple of seconds. Then, turning around casually, she saw me. There is a business banquet tonight, and Jinghuai is tied up at the office and can't get away. So, he asked me to swing by the shop to pick up a suit he had custom ordered previously. I never expected to run into you guys here. I gave Chang Rui a warm smile. Long time no see, Rui. Have you been busy lately? My gaze flickered towards Swanqing. Since we happened to cross paths, why don't we grab dinner together? I'll have to pass on dinner. I still have some things to take care of. Let's rain check for another time. Even though my relationship with Chang Rui wasn't that close, I turned her down with a polite smile to avoid making it awkward for her. Chang Rui noticed the premium custom-tailored garment bag in my hand. It was clear that I really did have somewhere else to be. It wasn't an excuse. She gave a quick reply and wanted to say more, but I had already bypassed Swanqing and walked straight away. I kept my eyes straight ahead the entire time, not even glancing in her direction. The air pressure suddenly plummeted. Chang Rui stole a glance. Swanqing's expression was incredibly tense. Sister Wanqing. Xiao Yi probably just didn't see you. Don't take it to heart. Don't let it get to you. It would have been better if Chang Rui had kept her mouth shut. As soon as she spoke, Swanching's face grew even darker. Miss, are you still buying this? Swanching said coldly, yes, I'm buying it. We're taking it. Give me the most expensive one. He might not care for it, but someone else will. The party was held at a standalone villa on Yulee Road. By the time I arrived, quite a few people had already gathered. Someone recognized me, and their expression instantly became subtle. In the past, Swanching used to bring me along, so I frequented occasions like this quite often. Over time, I became a familiar face. They didn't know my name was Xiaoyi. They only knew me as Swanching's boyfriend. But recently, rumors had been circulating in their circle that the two of us had already broken up. Coupled with the fact that I showed up at the banquet completely alone tonight, the rumors were likely true. That was why everyone's glances grew so telling. Ignoring the various looks thrown my way, I walked straight up to Jing Huai and handed the suit to him personally. Xiaoyi, why don't you stay and have some fun, too? The food tonight is really good. I waved my hand and declined. No, thank you. Drink less and stay safe on your way back. All right. Jing Huai didn't press any further, he knew exactly what those people were thinking. It was glaringly obvious. If Xiaoyi stayed, it would only bring him embarrassment. I got it. I'll have Assistant Lu drive you home. With that, I turned and left. Whispers erupted all around. Did you guys see that just now? How does he even have the nerve to show up? What a thick skin. Well, he was with Swanching for 6 years. There must be some lingering attachment, right? This is hilarious. Did you see what he's wearing? Even my family chauffeur dresses better than him. Everyone knows he just tags along behind Swanching every day cooking and doing laundry for her. He is basically no different from a domestic helper. Assistant Lu stole a glance at my expression. Mr. Xiao. I remained completely unfazed as if nothing had happened. Let's go. I calmly walked ahead. When I first decided to break up with Swanching, I had already anticipated scenes like this. Assistant Lu spoke up with a hint of comfort. Mr. Xiao, please wait here a moment. I'll go get the car. All right. Standing outside the banquet hall, I looked up at the sky. The sun was setting and a gentle breeze blew past. Just then, a pleasant, slightly tipsy female voice drifted over. Xiaoyi. I turned around and our eyes met. What a coincidence. Yuyanka swirled the goblet in her hand. A flicker of restrained pleasant surprise gleamed in her dark eyes. Long time no see. I didn't expect to run into you here. Let me think. How long has it been? The last time we saw each other should have been at your college graduation ceremony. What a pity. Swanching squeezed me out so I couldn't even give you my flowers. I felt a bit awkward. I still have things to do. So I'll be leaving first. But Yuyanka wasn't about to let me leave just like that. All these years Swanching treated you like her private property, keeping you hidden away at home. It was truly hard to catch a single glimpse of you. I frowned. My smile faded completely. What exactly are you trying to say? Back then, you rejected both Swanching and me. But in the end, you chose her. It was nothing more than the fact that she persisted longer and knew how to cling to you better. But have you ever thought about it? The reason she persisted longer was simply because in this competition, she wanted to win more than anything. At that exact moment, the wound in my already broken heart was violently stabbed open again, leaving a fresh, bloody gash. So, the deep affection I believed in was nothing more than a woman's momentary petty competitiveness. Seeing my face suddenly turn deathly pale, a flash of heartache crossed Yuyanka's eyes. She reached out, attempting to touch my face. But before her hand could land, I took a half step back to distance myself. Miss you, please show some self-respect. Stop pretending. I know you and Swanching have already broken up. So what? I know you and Swanching have broken up. So Xiaoyi, why don't you be with me instead? I will cherish and take care of you far better than Swanching ever did. Whatever you want, I'll do everything in my power to give it to you as long as you're willing to be with me. Whether it was 6 years ago or seeing me again 6 years later, Yuyanka's heart still beat wildly for me. She knew she had never truly let go. I let out a bitter laugh. I just crawled out of one fire pit only to jump straight into another. Miss you, it was nice seeing you today, but from now on, it's best if we just go our separate ways. With that, I turned around and walked away. Whether it was Swanching or Yuyanka, I didn't want to have anything to do with either of them right now, and they had better leave me alone, too. Yuyanka stared at my retreating back, a deep complex look flashing through her eyes. She let out a soft sigh, a faint curl appearing at the corner of her lips. Xiaoyi, do you really think you can escape? Little did they know, someone in the distance had witnessed this entire scene unfold from beginning to end. Jiang Shufu glanced at the photo she had just taken, a satisfied smirk playing on her lips. Assistant Lou dropped me off downstairs. After getting out of the car and thanking him, I didn't head straight inside. Instead, I detoured into the nearby grocery market. 20 minutes later, carrying bags of all sizes, I was about to head upstairs when I saw you walking out under the glow of the setting sun. What a coincidence. We meet again. You froze for a moment? Oh, what a coincidence. Have you had dinner yet? I bought some groceries. Would you like to have dinner together? You instinctively went to decline, but thinking back to my culinary skills, she agreed. This is the first time she's ever been to my place. The glass coffee table is covered with grad school entrance exam prep books and exercises. She sweeps her eyes over them and instantly understands. The answers written in black ink on the test papers are almost entirely correct. What would you like to drink? Plain water is fine. I pour her a glass of warm water. Thanks. I bought a bit too much food today. It's actually perfect for hot pot. I open up the shopping bag. You suddenly points, you got this multiple choice question wrong. Following her line of sight, I realize it lands right on the test paper I just finished working through this morning. She clearly knows that's one of the difficult problems. That question involves a crossover between biology and physics regarding the objective of dynamics knowledge. I haven't quite figured it out yet. The potential function and dynamics calculations. The choice of the potential function is extremely closely related to the dynamics calculations. If you choose a different potential function, the potential energy surface of the system will take on a different shape. The molecular motion obtained from the dynamics calculations and the trajectories of internal molecular movements will also differ. You offers a brief pointer. I freeze for a moment and then sink deep into thought. 2 seconds later, my eyes suddenly light up. So that's how it is. Seeing how fast I catch on, you looks a bit surprised. You understand most of it, don't you? I've read your research notes in the library. I know some basic principles of molecular dynamics. You can understand those. Yeah. A rare hint of embarrassment flits across Yu's face. Those were just my notes from back in undergrad. There were quite a few typos in them. I can't help but smile. You're very smart and you have great intuition. The graduate entrance exam won't stump you. My smile brightens even more. Really? Then I'll take that as a blessing, Professor Wen. On the other side of town, by the time Swanching and Chang Rui step out of the mall, the sky has already grown dark. Chang Rui glances at the paper bag in her hand. A watch worth nearly 7 figures. And she's just parading it around in her hand like this, swinging and shaking it. Who knows who she is trying to show it to? Even though the store clerks explicitly said they could provide a secure delivery service, this lady stubbornly refused. Too bad we didn't run into him anywhere on our way out. It's already this late. Let's grab some food first. Swanching responds listlessly. You decide. Chang Rui picks a private kitchen restaurant nearby that has a pretty good reputation. The two of them get a private booth on the second floor. The waiter comes over and hands them the menu. Chang Rui ponders over it for a long time, her eyes nearly glazing over from the options. Noticing that Swanching hasn't made a sound the entire time, she takes the initiative to speak up. I heard this Cantonese restaurant is really good. The dishes are authentic and diverse. Wanqing, is there anything you want to eat? You just order. Ever since they left the watch boutique, Swanching has been completely distracted. She keeps remembering how I didn't even spare her a glance, and how I just walked right past her, pretending we were complete strangers. Her brow furrows deeply. How dare he treat her like she's invisible? And he clearly moved out of Jing Huai's place already. So why hasn't he crawled back yet? Just how much longer is he going to keep throwing this tantrum? Her thoughts are a tangled mess. Before long, the dishes are served one by one. Chang Rui was already starving and smelling the aroma. Now she just wants to dig in. She picks up a piece of food with her chopsticks. The taste is seriously amazing. Looking at Swanching again, she's barely picking at her food, showing absolutely no enjoyment of the delicious meal. Wanqing, are you still thinking about what happened earlier? Honestly, I think Xiaoyi is probably still angry. Once this phase passes, things might just go back to normal. Remembering something, her chopsticks pause midair. Besides, you broke up with him right in front of so many of us that day. Where was Xiaoyi supposed to put his pride? He probably won't get over it anytime soon. In a few days when he cools off, if you take the initiative to coax him a little, everything will be fine. Swanching keeps her face taut. Who says I'm thinking about him? Just eat your food. Keep acting tough. Why don't you keep talking tough? See where that gets you.